gets from fishing alone, so when I decided to spend a weekend by Pine Lake, I was psyched. I packed all my gear and drove for hours, until finally setting up camp in a secluded spot by the water. The sun had set. I cast my line as it painted the sky with brilliant shades of orange and pink, ready for a perfect night of relaxation. Darkness closed around me, so familiar that it felt like breathing, crickets chirping and the rustle of leaves moving in the wind. I sat there lost in thought, waiting for a bite when I heard crunching through the brush. Footsteps. I turned, jerking my head towards the sound, and saw a man step out from behind the trees. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice warm but with a certain awkward edge. "Oh yeah?" I said, trying to make myself sound nonchalant. I didn't think anyone else was out here. "Most people avoid this lake," he said, sitting down about a few feet from me. He looked rugged, 50-ish or so, with a scruffy beard and a worn flannel shirt. "Name's Dave." "Ethan," I said, feeling a small shiver of discomfort rise up in me. We talked as we fished, but I couldn't shake the feeling that Dave was watching me, his eyes flicking back toward the tree line more often than not. "What are you looking for?" I finally asked, trying to sound lighthearted. "Oh, just keeping an eye out. You'd be surprised what lurks in these woods," he said, his tone suddenly serious. "What do you mean?" I asked, my belly nodding up. Dave leans in. "You know, things happen out here," he says. "People just disappear." My heart thumps a little faster. "Like who?" "Joe McAllister," he says. "He went out one night to fish and never came home. Not a sign of him, just his gear." He looks at me with a narrowed eye. "You're out here alone, Ethan. You sure that's smart?" "Look, I'm just trying to enjoy some time away from everything. I'm fine," I said, trying to sound convincing, but his words bit into me. "Fine? Or just lucky so far?" His smile didn't quite reach his eyes. "The lake doesn't give peace. It takes." That was it for me. I felt a chill run down my spine. "I think I'm gonna head back now." "Not yet," he kept insisting. "Listen to what I'm saying. The lake is alive. It knows you are here." I made an attempt to brush it off, but the air started to thicken with tension. "Actually, I need to go." "Suit yourself," he shrugged. "But remember, it is not the fish you should fear." Pushing the crawling feeling in my stomach aside, I repacked my belongings and continued leaving. Woods were darker, reaching out with shadow, as if unsettling me further with every step that took me away from Dave and his creepy, unsettling aura. I reached for my truck keys and ran for my truck. My heart was pounding. I glanced back once more, and there he was, standing across the lake once more, his unsettling smile plastered on his face. I tore out there, my pulse pounding in my ears. The winding road back to civilization seemed endless. I glanced in the rearview mirror periodically, half expecting to see him chasing after me, but the road behind was empty. Just as I managed to breathe again, I heard a clatter from the back seat. I looked around. Time stopped for me. My tackle box was there, open wide, but I had packed it on the shore of the lake. It was then that my cell phone rang. I picked it and found a text message from an unknown number. "You shouldn't have left." Cold sweat broke out on my forehead. I typed back, "Who is this?" Another message came through. "I warned you." Fear flooded me. I pulled over to the side of the road, gasping for air. I looked around me, half expecting Dave to be lurking in the shadows, but I saw only me, the woods, and the flickering headlights. Then the reality of things smacked me right between the eyes. The knife. The way Dave had talked about the lake, his warnings, the way he had been watching me. A dread began to rise up in my body. I hadn't even had time to think when in my rearview mirror I saw something. A man in the middle of the road, waving a hand with something shiny. It was Dave. I slammed on the brakes, my heart pounding. I backed up slowly, ready to make my escape. Just then, Dave took a step closer, and with his hand raised, yelled out, "You forgot something!" as he tossed something into the open window. It splat, thudded into the passenger seat. I froze, realizing it was a bloodied fish knife. "Now you know what I meant," he shouted aloud in the stillness of the air. Shaking my hands, I picked and looked at the dark red stains on it. It was a warning. No, it was a message. Harder than any blow, the realization struck me, and quite brutally. Somehow I had stumbled into much darker territory than I ever imagined. Panic ran through my veins. I floored the gas and at the last minute swerved past Dave to get back on the road as my mind raced. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something of menace observing me, far deadlier than I could appreciate. I was getting closer to town and saw a cop car pulled over on the side of the road. Not even thinking, I swerved over and rolled down my window. "Help! There's a guy back at Pine Lake. He's acting weirder, and I think he's dangerous." The officer looked at me in shock. "Calm down. What did he do?" I gulped some air in preparation. I tried to get my voice together. "He was talking about people who vanish. I think he's involved in something bad. You should check out?" I called out. The cop nodded in concern. "Fine, let's put an end to this." I felt myself relax as they sped off to the lake. I continued to pace up and down on the roadside, trying to calm myself down. They took what seemed like hours, but the officers shortly returned. They seemed somber. "We found him, Ethan," one of them said. "We apprehended Dave, and it seems he's not acting alone. There are suggestions of a bigger event, a couple of missing people in the locality." I felt my heart literally sink. It was a situation that was very deep. They were not just dealing with one creepy guy, rather they had discovered a massive human trafficking ring, which utilized the lake as a lure. They even take their cell numbers from the entries. "Thank you," I said, feeling relief and fear mix in my voice. I did not know. As I waited for the officers to take my statement, my phone buzzed for the third time. I reached over and pulled it out. My stomach fell. The message was simple. I read it in silence. "You think you're safe? You have no idea what we're capable of." A chill ran through me. The operation wasn't just about Dave. It had been a network far beyond